I am the fire. I am burning brighter, roaring like a sun. And I am the one I've been waiting for.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Jade Phoenix here, and I am back, and the color wheel is spinning. We're all here. Everybody, what's going on? How you doing? What's up?
Let's go, lesbians! Let's go!
Where are the lesbians?
Okay, speaking of lesbians, I just saw like this shit post earlier, and it's like, why don't humans lick to show affection? And someone's like, lesbians do.
They do.
Yep.
No, they do. I mean, technically, men do, as long as you're not DJ Khalid.
Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of men that do not understand the power of licking to show affection.
I mean, if it's, as long as it's taken care of, I have no problem, licking a cupcake. I really don't. Hey, bisexual representation. How you doing?
Oh, like, correct. just
Lavender's just like cracking
Okay,
up.
So Jade got me this little like cupcake, and it just screams obscenities, and that was all I was thinking about that when you said that. That was
Good
literally all I could
Advice
think about. The
cupcake.
Good Advice cupcake, and my cat is obsessed with this Good Advice cupcake, and I was like,
I feel like there's another joke in there about a pussy being obsessed with a cupcake.
yeah, I think there is.
I mean, hello. So if you haven't guessed, our topic today is queer representation
The gays.
in media. We are talking about the
gays.
rainbow. Who better to talk about the rainbow than the color wheel?
It makes the most
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, obviously, we do form quite of a spectrum of the rainbow. I mean, all of us are bisexual,
Correct.
Yes.
and for a while there, Kayla thought she was full rainbow.
Yes.
Valid though.
You did.
Because I was like, oh, I don't know, men are kind of the worst. But then I realized that all men have to be the worst.
I'd still choose the bear.
Yeah, I would still choose the bear. However, this is a fun thing. Sexuality and gender are a spectrum, my friends. So it's okay to need to, because I feel like there's always this negative connotation because of bad representation in media about experimentation. And the reality is it's a normal thing. We all do it within the queer community, especially because we're not considered, quote unquote, the default.
No.
It's normal to experiment and find yourself within those awakenings within yourself. And unfortunately, as I said, some negative media portrayals have not helped that scenario.
I mean, that's kind of been like that since media existed.
Yeah, especially
like
if you're
mass
bisexual.
media on the way that it, like, mass media, like, as we know it.
That's actually true. I mean,
and you're right, especially for bisexuals, because
And specifically bisexual.
we're
femme
either
people.
not we're either not gay enough, or we're considered to be just faking it for attention. And I'm just like, no,
Exactly.
Or we're greedy.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
or
it's
we're
just
all
a
just
turn
greedy
on.
sluts.
Oh
I was
God.
a greedy slut.
Or it's a turn on for straight men.
You have no idea how
yeah.
many times everybody's like, "What do you mean you're bisexual? You're with a man." I said, "Yeah, okay.
And
What's your point?" And they're like, "Well, wouldn't you have to be with like a girl sometimes?" I'm like, "Okay. Would you like me to show you how much better I can fuck your girlfriend? Because I guarantee you, she's not gonna want you after I'm done." And so many people are like, "Oh, yeah, right. It actually, story time, Jade's
do
story
it.
time.
Pop off.
Hooray.
So when I was in my early 20s, I actually met a dude, and I was pretty cool friends with him and his girlfriend for a hot minute. And I was, I was just getting out of a big relationship, so I wasn't really trying to be with either gender at that point in time.
Yeah.
And, I'd known that I liked women and I liked men since middle school. Like, I've always known that I liked both genders. And I was like, okay, I'm attracted to both. So what does that mean? And I didn't learn about what it really was until, like, 9th grade.
Right.
When we had a sexuality class. And I was like, there's a word for what I am? Oh, fuck me. All right, cool. And I ran with it. But these people, you know, they were, you know, as, you know, friends do when you're getting to know each other, you talk about intimate shit. I mean, it happens as you get closer. And the subject of being gay came up in a conversation between me and this dude, and he is violently straight.
Yep.
Violently straight. Like the thought of even a man going near him set him off into like fucking homophobic rages.
Ew.
Like, and I never
Drake's my guy.
it bothered me, but like I was like, all right, dude, you know, you don't have to be so fucking extra, but like, all right, if that's your process, that's your process. Who am I to judge you?
No, exactly.
You know, like I don't want you judging me, so I'm not going to judge you, but like, hey, maybe if you educate yourself, you won't be such a fucking raging douchebag. And that was where the conversation was. Like I was trying to educate him on being a bisexual woman and how it felt being erased. And he basically turned around and was like, well, you're not a bisexual. You've only had like 2 girlfriends, because at the time I'd only had 2 female partners, but I'd, you know, been with a couple of women, but only 2 partners. And he was like, well, that doesn't make you a real bisexual. That just makes you somebody who's like experimenting in college. That's what he actually said to me. I'm like,
That is so gross, though.
And this is an example of experimentation being used negatively.
Oh. Can I like bop in with a story time?
yeah,
Like,
bop in. Because
Yeah.
like I need a minute to like recenter, because even now, so many years later, I still feel rage.
That is
No,
so
I don't blame
valid.
you.
And like this is also gonna be rage inducing, so sorry. But because I had most of my dating history is women. Like I'd mostly dated women. My husband is actually the first man I ever dated, and somehow that stuck.
Hey,
Good for him.
He put a ring on it.
Yes, he did.
so-
Yeah. And I love that man. But so my dad knew that, you know, I liked women. And my husband, Cam, you know, obviously like, you know, this is like way before, like we had just started dating. This was actually like right before Comic-Con. We were like con crunching the night before at my parents' house, and you know, like my dad had come out, and Cam, you know, like he goes to my dad, you know, holding my hand, and he's like, "Hey, sir, I would like to ask for your blessing to date your daughter."
oh my god,
That's like, you know, adorable.
that is the cutest fucking thing.
Yeah, but then my dad says, he's like, "You have my blessing, so you finally straightened her out." And it's just like, and fucking Cam, this is how you know he was the one, because he immediately says, "That's not how that works."
Emotional damage.
We stand the Cam. We stand the Cam.
We do love this. I love this man.
No,
That should also be a sound.
It's a-
We stand the
we
Cam.
stand the
should be-
Cam. I'm actually going to make that a sound. Yes, that will be one of our sounds. But to get like, dude, that's insane and so affirming at the same time.
Yeah, like
you.
it's just crazy because now my whole family thinks I'm straight, and I'm like, joke's on you.
Nope.
I'm not straight.
No, neither is Cam.
Yeah, neither is Cam. Yeah, no, that's the best part. Neither of us are straight.
Exactly. But like, it just drives me crazy. So like, this dude basically, you know, to go back to my story, not to whatever.
No, it's like
But-
we're doing the neurodivergent thing
So-
where we bounce off each other.
The thing is like we were getting really heated at this point, and the girlfriend's trying to calm us down. So I turned around, I looked both of them dead in the face. I said, "Oh, okay. You know what? How about we have a little wager, since I'm just experimenting with my sexuality?" And he's like, "I'm listening." I go, "How about you let me fuck her in front of you? And if she screams the way that she screams for you, I will never bother you about it again. But if she screams for me in a way that you can never get her to scream, you have to pay me $1,000. I was $1,000 richer. Let's put
Fuck yes, mama. Fuck yes.
Because all that bitch did the entire time was she even said, she's like, "I never ever made noises like that. I'm a little embarrassed." I'm like, "Don't be." She was like, "Is that what it's like to be with another woman?" I said, "No, that's what it's like to be with me, because I'm a fucking goddess, number one."
Correct.
And number two, I found out a few years later, because he immediately paid me and stopped talking to me. Like, he never spoke to me again, but I stayed really good friends with the girlfriend because she dumped him
Oh, good for her.
She broke up with him maybe about a month or two after this incident happened because he kept throwing it in her face, basically saying that she cheated on him. And she's like, how is that even possible when you were sitting right there and I saw you playing with yourself?
It's like, my brother in Christ, you
exactly.
consented.
Like, no. No, sir, no. So it drives me absolutely batshit that people sat there and they were just like, well, you can't be bisexual because, like, you're with a dude. Like, you married a man. Like, you're... Like, no. Just because my person happens to have male anatomy does not erase the fact that I will still fuck your girlfriend and make her better, make her love me. Like, no.
Valid.
Kiss my ass. Like, no.
Emotional damage.
But yeah, that's my story about, you know, how I had to prove a point against a man, still would choose the bear.
Always
I would-
choose the bear.
See, I would choose a bear, but it's also funny because, like, my nickname for Cam is, like, he's my teddy bear.
Himbo.
He's also a himbo, but he's my teddy bear because he's warm and soft and cuddly like a teddy bear. So I pick a bear and it's just him.
I mean, do you guys have similar stories like that? Like, of people
many.
trying to erase your sexuality?
Yeah,
So
like
many.
constantly. I mean,
sorry.
Ooh,
You
that's
go
okay.
off. No, go off first, honey. It's okay.
I was gonna say, like, that was something that I had to get my current partner, of whom I love very much, used to, because he was like he is like a former like frat guy, and that was kind of like a confusing concept for him because he originally was very like, oh, that's fine, and he like liked the idea of it.
What did he say?
But then it would be really funny because he wouldn't get jealous of women checking me out, but he'd get very jealous of men checking me out. Yeah,
He still does,
he
though.
still does though. Like, but I had to be like, no, it's the same thing. Like, I don't want you getting jealous, period, because I chose you and like that's it. Because I'm very like one and done that way. But it was like, hello. It's the same concept. It doesn't make it any different.
Yeah.
If it's a man doing it or a woman doing it, like, because I'm a bisexual. Either one of them could be my partner. Like, it was a very, like, hey, please,
Like,
it's not all that different.
I know
And,
that
and
you
then
and
there's
me
the
have
usual
joked
family
around
stuff.
about him having more to worry about me stealing you away than any of these dudes that he's worried about.
Correct.
and or hello.
Correct. I mean,
true.
I
Yeah.
literally, the first time I met Scarlett was literally before, like, they were still with Cam, but
Yes.
it was before they were engaged, and it was the first time I had met them ever, and Cam was not there yet. And I was, like, very much smitten with Scarlett. And I thought I was making myself, like, very obvious. And I had to find, because I was just told, hey, Scarlett and Cam are coming and you don't know them. So this is who they are. But, you know, they did not inform me that you guys were together. So I had no idea. And then I felt like such a dick when I was like mid flirting with you and Cam walked in. I mean, we're all really great friends now.
Yeah.
But I mean, we get mistaken for a throuple too.
We
So,
have-
like,
do.
there's
We have been
that
mistaken
as
for
well.
a throuple.
They do.
It's one of like my favorite things.
In all honesty, I actually encourage people to think that they're in a throuple when we go out, because that way it makes it easier because they leave them the hell alone.
It's
Correct.
so true.
It is so true.
Especially because, like, unfortunately, also a lot of people don't know the word no.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, no is a full sentence, and nobody seems to get that.
No.
So.
Not to like at that asshole at the train station.
I was actually
At
going to
it.
suggest
At
you to at that
it.
asshole at the train station.
yeah,
and
at
talk
that
about
asshole
it.
at the train station. Listen, sir, no is a full sentence. Also, I have the fact that like, oh, he straight up was like, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I'm like, "I have a husband." He's like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he still proceeds to ask for my number, and I'm like, "Dude, no." Like,
I'm so sorry. I'm not laughing at the douchebag. I'm laughing
can laugh
at
at the douchebag. It's
so
fine, but,
one of the podcast cats,
yes.
Mr.
Rocky Balboa.
Balboa,
what a king.
literally just onto the floor. But there are just some times when cats land so freaking heavy on their paws, and it just seems so fucking dramatic. I'm like, can you calm down? It's not that serious.
Well, he also tends to just be extra. I mean, he is orange.
This is also true.
Orange
my Lukey is the same way.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart.
Same thing. Very defiantly, as if you threw him on the floor.
Oh, yeah, no. And the other thing is that he's being a fucking brat right now. And so, like,
yes.
honestly, it's hysterical because if we were live with a live feed right now, you guys would see me literally constantly muting my microphone and running around the nest trying to get this cat under control because the other podcast cats are all just here. They're all just chilling. Yeah. But the orange has to be an orange and cause chaos.
The Orange Menace be orange menacing.
I know. But this is why the cult of the Orange Menace exists. And technically, if you followed the Feinics Gate on any of our social media, you would know about it. And you should know about it. Because, quick disclaimer, off topic very quickly. Next week, we will be at Long Island Feast Fest. So next Saturday, come out to the Great South Bay Brewery and say hello. If you mention to me that you follow on social media the Feinics Gate and show me that you're following either our Instagram or our TikTok, you get a special coupon for 5% off everything you buy at my table.
Woo! Yeah. Also, I'll be there hanging out.
Yeah.
I unfortunately will not.
No, because you will be having fun times in a formal gown.
Oh, yes. Very exciting.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart.
Talking about queer things, you know that, like, this is when I sit here and I'm like, how can anyone argue that being queer is a choice? Because my parents straight up thought I would grow up to be a lesbian because I refused to wear a dress between, like, the ages of, like, when I had, like, any consciousness. So, like, between, like, maybe 5 and, like, 12. And they would have to buy me little matching pantsuits. I look like a little Hillary Clinton.
Oh my God,
it was so funny. I wish I thought to bring a photo. But there are so many. And it's so funny because now I love
We can post
dresses.
it up on the social.
Yes, now I love dresses. Now I'm all about dresses, pantsuits, letting them commingle. However, I was very anti-dress for the longest time. And
I still am.
it's so funny because then my parents are like, what do you mean you're bisexual? And it was so funny. I literally, like, kind of rage came out to them over the pandemic.
Oh, wild.
And then they were like,
Squirtle.
you're just trying to be special. I was like, oh, no.
No.
And
My
then I
mother
just-
did that to me when I came out to her, my sister.
And then I just dropped
Oh, yeah,
it.
no.
And you
My
know
dad
what? I told them, technically, it's in the ether. It's
Whack.
within the ecosystem. Like,
Whack.
it's already uncovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that actually brings up a good
I
point.
too was very anti-dress up until I was like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that actually brings up a very good point since we are talking about queer representation in media. How they dress the fucking lesbians and bisexuals and gays in every single movie and TV show.
Like, the worst
Yeah.
is
What
when you
the
can
fuck?
tell it was like a straight person running that wardrobe department.
The CW, honestly.
Oh my God. 'Cause I'm just going to say this right now. We're very fashionable, okay? No matter what, whether you're femme, butch, everything in between, you always look fabulous.
Thank you.
And all the time, they'll put them in these ugly ass clothes. And I'm sitting here like, please, please.
Like,
for the
is
love
there
of
a
God.
reason why every single butch lesbian has to wear overalls? Is there a reason?
As I'm wearing overalls.
I
here
said
in the
butch.
nest.
No, I'm talking about, like, you know, like full bull dyke.
No,
Obvious.
exactly.
Like, okay, like they're fostering a stereotype that all they wear is like fucking combat boots or construction boots, like fucking overalls, the Tims,
and the fucking
and
like
the
the
flannel.
white cruiser. Oh, and flannels.
And flannels,
Flannels
like,
are very gay.
Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, just because they may prefer that because it is super fucking comfortable, do you really have to make every single fucking character look like that?
No, for real. And like, and let me tell you, like, butch lesbians, when they dress up, they dress up.
Oh yeah.
There's suits.
Oh,
There's bow ties.
Oh god, they sometimes
lapel pins.
those
like-
tailored suits that I see some of them wear to some like really nice events look nicer on them than I've ever seen on any man.
Correct.
No, for real.
Well, some men, like men. We're not gonna go there.
We're
But
not going to get into it.
some
in
can
suits,
pull it
though.
off, but I'm telling you, you're absolutely right. When they want to go glam, they fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, and here's the other thing. Why is every single ultra femme babe lesbian, a blonde.
Yeah. Come on, y'all.
Why?
It's
A blonde
the
and
nails.
a tan.
Also the nails.
Oh.
It's like, honey, no, you're gonna hurt a vagina with those.
yes. Here's
Not
the thing.
interested.
I just think there need to be more queer people in these spaces, and that's one of the biggest problems. Like, I will say this.
It's getting better.
It is getting
It
a lot
has gotten
better.
a lot better,
And I
even
will
in like
say
the past
this.
like 5-10 years.
There is like a lot to be said and dissertation on certain things. Like, I know I told you guys, I am personally the #1 fan of the Seth MacFarlane fan club.
Hey, Seth MacFarlane, that's a sign to sponsor us because your #1 fan
I'm right here.
is here.
Please, I wrote a
She's right there.
report on you. Like, for real. So, like, this is what I was going to go into. Like, there are some
Yes.
types of, like, representation where they may come off a certain way. And what I love about Seth MacFarlane is, and I personally feel like his comedy is very smart in how it tackles making fun of stereotypes. And one of the things I presented in my big dissertation in college was there's actually a great scene in my favorite of MacFarlane's work, American Dad, where they have the two gay news anchors. And there's a whole scene where they're singing about gay stereotypes while saying that there shouldn't be gay stereotypes.
I remember that
And it's wonderful. And I think it's just such a great, like, representative of, I understand that maybe some modern audiences might say, oh, he's being brash. But I actually think it's a really smart way to talk about issues while being funny and not punching down, but punching up.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think Seth MacFarlane is so good at that. And if you're a huge fan of his work, like I am, please, Seth. He really improved upon this in the TED series that he recently did on Peacock, where
I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, but I
Honestly,
want. It's on
I
my
saw
to
a
watch.
couple
list.
I
episodes.
watched
It's
it
pretty
in
funny.
like so fast. Like I watched it I watched probably the whole thing in like a day and a half. I love him. But one of the things that they did was they had a joke that John's dad was able to bring another toy to life. And the whole joke is that, like, you know, they're in Boston. So John's dad is very, like, big macho, hyper straight. And the whole joke is that the toy he brings to life is a reflection of all of his most negative traits.
Oh no!
And it turns out that this toy was like a closeted gay man.
Hi, Georgie.
And because the whole episode was about John's father learning to accept John's cousin who brought over her girlfriend for Christmas dinner. So it was a very smart way to kind of talk about sexuality and how we in and of ourselves kind of enhance this idea of this hyper male sexuality where they believe they need to punch these things so far down into their being
Oh my God! Yeah.
that literally their toy truck ends up being a closeted gay man. Like,
yeah.
and rides off into the distance to live his life as he accepts his identity.
I mean, dude, it actually brings up a story from one of my childhood friends who was hyper male while we were growing up. Like he was kind of he was a bit of a bully, you know, and we lost touch for a little while and I met back up with him years later and he was fully out. And I looked at him, I go, okay, explain this, you know, if you have the spoons, explain this to me. He goes, so do you remember when we were kids and I was always bullying people, you know, and calling them faggots and all this fucking shit? I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's because I knew I was. And I was upset about it because I didn't know how my brothers were going to handle it. Because his older brother was like super homophobic. And he didn't want to be a bad influence on his younger brother.
Right.
So he was like very, very conflicted about coming out. And then later on, after he graduated high school, he decided to come out to his family. And his mother already knew, obviously. I mean,
really do.
I had my suspicions growing up because, like, gaydar.
The moms always know, though.
Oh, yeah. But he was accepted just as he is, you know, and he was so much happier. He was no longer a douche nozzle. You know, you could just see that he was just fully himself now and not having to repress who he felt he needed to be, you know, or who he felt he had to be to survive.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why we need better representation in the media. And we're getting better. And I don't want like anything to be against like that early media representation. It's
getting
like
better
Seth.
though.
But people like Seth, in my opinion, paved the way for more authentic storytelling.
Believe it or not, actually, I really do enjoy some of the other sitcoms nowadays with their representation. Modern Family.
I love Modern Family. That is one of my favorite shows.
I don't know if you ever watched.
I don't watch sitcoms.
Yeah.
I'm like a little lost.
I love them.
Modern Family got a really good representation because obviously it's about a whole family.
Right.
But the younger brother is gay. And
Is that the show with Sofia Vergara?
Yes, it is.
I've never seen it, but
It's
I like Sofia
hysterical.
Vergara.
It's wonderful.
it is so good.
I'm attracted to Sofia Vergara in a very bisexual way.
I mean, hello. I'd fuck her ex-husband too.
Wait, who's her
Joe.
Joe Manganiello.
It's bad because every time I
Is
think
he
of
the one
Joe
from Spider-Man?
Manganiello, yes, that's
Yeah.
all I think about is Flash Thompson from the Tobey Maguire.
wanna fight me neither.
I wouldn't want to fight me neither.
Don't!
But either way, that is an example of good representation because you have a married gay couple. They go through trials and tribulations, trying to adopt. You have the one guy that's obviously like, you know, more effeminate and all that kind of fun stuff. And then, you know, it's great because it's not over the top gay. Like, hey, hello, how are you? You know, everybody look at me. I'm so gay. Like it
Yes.
used to be in the 90s and the 80s.
Right.
Because that's the thing. There are effeminate gay folks, just as there are effeminate straight folks.
And there are extremely flamboyant gay folks. Yes,
Exactly.
we understand that stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason.
Right. But there's a time and place where they get too overly conflated. Which is why I
And
feel
it's
like
like-
a show like Modern Family.
I like your funny
And it's
words.
like if that's the
So
only
great.
type of gay person that you're showing, like that effeminate white gay dude. It's
Yeah.
like we've seen it.
Or the
over
effeminate
and-
black gay dude.
Yeah.
Another good example of gay representation, honestly, believe it or not, is Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I could talk. That's another one. Well,
Rest in peace, Andre Broder.
oh God.
But
That's right. He passed
he-
away recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
upsetting.
he was gay. He played a gay police captain.
Yeah, so I know of the show because I know a lot of people who watch it, and obviously like Tumblr loved the show when I was on Tumblr at the time.
Because it's hysterical. It's
I
so
just-
good. It's on Netflix. Watch it.
It was also just so well written because they talked about big topics because they understood
Andy Samberg.
while it was a sitcom, they understood that there are some things that
Well, it
need
wasn't
to
just
change.
a sitcom. I would say that was more of a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, didn't they make Stephanie Beatrice's character? They made her bisexual.
Yes, she
Yeah,
is a bisexual.
Is she bisexual in real life or?
That I'm not sure about, but she has said that she always played her character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine as a bisexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once it got confirmed, she was like, awesome, great. That's how I've played Rosa the entire time.
Right, but it makes it. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, you don't automatically assume
Right.
that Rose is bisexual. You don't automatically assume that the captain is gay. It's alluded to in the very first episode, and then later
Yeah.
on confirmed because you go, you get a little bit of a gay vibe. No, just me.
Well,
Okay.
You know what? I'll kind of like, I kind of want to bounce off that a little bit because, like I feel like a lot of times it's not like straight people watching would not pick up the queer vibes. Like I know a lot of people talk about Legend of Korra,
Oh, yes.
which
Oh God.
which I actually so I really do like Legend of Korra. Seasons 3 and 4 are fucking amazing. But a lot of people like to say that Korra and Asami, like that, like relationship came out of nowhere. And to that, I like
No,
to
it
tell
fucking
you,
didn't.
what the fuck are you talking about? Did you not watch season 3?
Squirtle.
Like honestly, Korra and Asami, you can tell that there's like, especially if you're like a queer woman, because the way that queer women interact with each other, or like when a queer woman interacts with another woman that they're interested in, but they don't want to outright ask like, so are you gay? Yeah, like it's interesting. Like
The hand motion.
it's I know, like the hand motion. No, but there's a lot more of a subtlety to it. And I feel like you need to like be a queer woman or like have that experience to really pick up on it.
It's true.
Because I had watched it with my husband and our roommate. And our roommate, a very straight man,
Very.
he was like, yeah, that came out of nowhere. I don't know what I don't know where that was. And I'm like, my brother in Christ, did you not watch the same show I did? Because they were literally like, it was season 3 was very much hinting at it, and then the intro to season 4, like Asami, isn't Asami like one of the only people she was really like writing to?
Yep.
If
Correct.
I'm remembering that right.
Asami was the only person she was writing to.
Yeah.
What did he say?
It's there. Just because it's not in your face doesn't mean it's not there. And, also keep in mind, Nickelodeon did have to deal with certain limitations because,
Kids Network.
Well, the writers had to deal with certain limitations because Nickelodeon's like, yeah, we don't really want
No. Let's sidebar on that one real fast. Nickelodeon in the early 2000s and 90s never would have fucking had to do any subtle bullshit. It would have been in your face. Nowadays, because we can easily go from what we're saying is how we need the better representation to cancel culture.
Right.
Yes.
But I think also like Korra and Asami, that really did pave the way for a lot of queer representation in cartoons and other
I agree.
and other like young like I don't want to necessarily call Korra like a kids show.
Yeah,
You
but
see,
I'm gonna counteract you though, and I'm gonna quote all of our favorite show. Courage the Cowardly Dog did it first.
Oh, Courage did everything first.
Courage the cat.
Yeah, the cat and the bunny.
The cat and the bunny.
Bunny.
Like hello.
That was
Return
literally
the slab.
I love that episode. No, but like the cat and the bunny is that episode's called The Mask. It's in the last season, I think. Fucking amazing episode. But yeah, like that was very gay.
Hello, McFly.
Yeah.
Yes. That I'm saying, like, it's always been there, and it's
Yeah.
always been subtle, because, I'm sorry, there's so many cartoons that I can sit there and be like, lesbian,
And-
or
Yeah.
even just gay, so gay.
Trust me,
Yes.
the amount of times
Oh my
that
God.
I have watched the movie Luca on Disney Plus.
Gay.
And hey, it basically got completely confirmed by the creators because the artist posts a lot of gay art recently.
Yeah, and let's also talk about Raya and the Last Dragon.
Oh my
Yes.
God, those two are lesbians.
It was confirmed.
I love that.
The writer actually said that if they weren't hamstring, they wanted them to.
good because they
couple.
were set up to be. It was very clear to me from the beginning of the movie.
It's clear to anybody that has eyeballs.
Not to like throw my current hyperfixation in here right now, but like every time I'm watching like X-Men, like we watched the old cartoon, now we're watching 97 with my husband. Every time like fucking Eric and Charles talk about each other, I'm like, gay.
Eric and Charles Gray.
Gay.
They literally are a fucking old married couple. I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
No, you're not
All
wrong.
the X-Men are gay.
Everyone's queer in the X-Men.
Everyone's queer and everyone slept with each other. It's even been confirmed in comics with Storm after she marries Black Panther, where they have massive orgies in Wakanda.
Yes.
And he walks in and is like, "The fuck are you doing? This is what X-Men do.
Ew.
Like, this is
kinda
literally
gross.
what we
Clear and
do.
horny. What do you expect?
Everybody fucks everybody
also,
else."
like, but also like speaking of X-Men, like they literally in X2, the live action movie. Listen, that was a fun movie. Look, I know the X-Men movies aren't thought of as like great fucking
Look,
cinema,
I love
but like
them,
they're
so
fun.
Go off.
They're fun.
Go
But,
off.
like the scene where Bobby, Iceman, tells his parents that he's a mutant was literally made as a metaphor, was filmed and like set up as a metaphor
Yep.
to coming out of the closet. And I think they had Ian McKellen help out with
did.
that scene because he is an out of the closet gay man.
Yep. And his best friend is Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
That's also why I'm telling you that's why they played up the fucking old married couple thing. with those
100%
two.
without a doubt.
But even then, it was in the old cartoon, which was way before the movies.
Right, but both of them actually really enjoyed the cartoon. And
That
they
makes so
actually
much
said
sense.
it when they first started filming the original X-Men movies. They watched the original cartoon and read the comics.
Yes.
And yes, you can hear my people in the background because it's not New York without sirens.
Oh my gosh, for a minute I thought it was coming from our
No,
board.
it is
I
not
was
coming
like,
from our
"Hello?"
No, like, hello?
We're talking about mutants. They're after us.
They're after us.
Well, see, that's the other thing is because remember, I'm going to lay some history on y'all.
Do it.
Up until the 70s, being gay was considered a sickness.
Yeah.
It was actually defined as a sickness. And so many comedians talk about it where they're just like, hello, yeah, I can't come into work today. Why not? I'm thinking about asses. I'm gonna, no, I'm gonna try to walk it off. I'm gonna go to the park, which is a famous meeting place for gay people, by the way.
Yes.
Star note. And like that's the thing is, up until the 70s, it was literally viewed as a disease.
Yeah.
In the fucking during World War II, they were literally eradicating.
Alan Turing. That's probably one of the saddest cases.
Hello.
If you guys
They were
haven't
experimenting on us.
Yeah.
seen, Imitation Game was probably one of my like favorite Benedict Cumberbatch movies. And that is probably one of the most heartbreaking sequences in any like part of history. But this man literally broke the code so we could win the war.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, he was married to his best friend who was a woman, and they both knew that he was gay, but they were just together, like, for financial reasons, for insurance.
Yeah.
And
Which actually
it was
a lot
very
of people did.
common.
Yeah.
It was very common at the time. And basically, he got caught in quote unquote in an obscenity trial for lewd acts with another man.
Yep.
And this man, who literally is the reason that we weren't nuked and annihilated, literally basically was given chemical castration.
Yep.
Solely for the fact that he was gay.
Yeah. You want
Disgusting.
another fun fact is in the flapper age, women would ink little blue stars on their wrists. Nautical stars. That's actually how that trend came to be, to signify to other women that they were gay.
Interesting.
Because they couldn't outright
Yeah, you couldn't like
tell
outright
you.
say it. Yeah, so they had to have like other. Well,
Yeah, you had to have like the language of being able to like nowadays we're queer and be mad about it is
yeah.
because everybody had to hide what they were for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Like there were like literal laws against it. I'm pretty sure there was one of the king, I think it was Henry the Third or Henry the Fourth. They actually even made there's a docu-series on it, I believe. Very gay.
Oh, yes.
Very, very gay. And so many people tried to use the fact that he was gay, even though he had a queen and they had procreated and da-da-da-da-da. They tried to use that as a vote of like, get him off the throne.
Right.
Saying, oh, well, he's doing lewd things against the Bible. Like, blah, blah. I mean, and that's like what, in the 1700s
Exactly.
or even
Yeah.
earlier? I don't even know. Like, I don't have my factoids in front of me like I normally do. Fail. But, like, this is what I'm talking about. And then on top of that, demonized. Demonized. Like, so this day and age.
And to this day.
Yeah.
This day and age
unfortunately.
is a blessing and a curse, I think, for the gays.
Oh,
Yeah.
agreed.
It's great. We finally are getting representation. It's not the representation that we may necessarily want, or it wasn't. Now it's starting to become way more, as people are recognizing it. The spectrum is becoming way more mainstream.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the other thing is
That makes
too,
sense.
it's getting like queer representation is getting a lot better because there's a lot more queer voices and like queer people
Agreed.
working to make this media.
Agreed.
I think
Yeah.
the other problem is, unfortunately, because of how crazy our political landscape has been, while it's great for us right now, that's why we have this constant fear. Because it's been so politicized that, we're seen as like a political pawn versus people. So at any moment, if things get moved around, things can change. And that's what's so crazy to me, because it should not even be a question of
I'm
politics.
actually seeing it too.
Like,
Following social
not.
media right now, if you
Oh my
follow
God.
social media, so like the big argument with one side of everything that's, because of the Cheeto and his cult.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the cult of the Orange Menace.
we love the Orange Menace.
Orange Menace is okay. Cheetos, well, I feel like we got to use a different one because apparently the Cheetos cheetah attracts furries.
Fuck. All right. We'll figure it out. But either way, I'm not getting into it because we're not we don't do politics on the Phoenix Gate. We are
No
very,
thanks.
No.
we all
It's too
have
much.
extremely different political views as well.
Yeah.
So we try to stay away from there. But like one of the big things I've been noticing, especially during that regime, was the more radical conservative hardcores were now starting to demonize trans people.
Yeah.
They were starting to demonize. They've always demonized drag queens, but it's gotten worse.
Oh, yes.
It's been so much worse.
You know, they are claiming that the gays are brainwashing the youth because every single person is gay now. Every single child is being exposed to being gay in media, and that's affecting their special little brains that aren't fully developed yet. This is actual quotes from someone that is such a fucking cultist on that side has said to me.
Yeah.
And you all know who it is. I don't need to tell you. And this person literally would sit there and tell me, like, my child is going to be brainwashed into thinking that they're gay because of the media and the fact that the gay people want everybody to be gay.
We do not want you all to be gay.
No, we
Please
don't.
stay away.
It's like we just want the people that are gay to be able to, like, you know,
Be gay.
be gay and, you know, have a safe place.
Exactly.
And I would like
And
to
it's like-
point this out. And this is where, like, especially this comes into media. Media is so important because it represents what's around all of us, right? It's supposed to be a reflection or like a imaginative reflection.
a
like,
siren call.
exactly. I gotta call out Schitt's Creek for being one of my favorite pieces of media. And I think the reason it's continued to do so well, and I miss it so dearly, I know it ended perfectly, but I wish it was still on. Something that was so important to me was, yeah, there were a lot of gay characters on that show, but that wasn't the crux of their character, their personality. And this town of people just accepted that. Yeah. The whole town went to their wedding in the finale. Like, it was, and when they were asked about it, Dan Levy, who I love, same with Eugene Levy, wonderful talent. Dan Levy and Eugene wrote it together as father and son. And when Dan was asked, why didn't you show the trials and tribulations of being gay, he was like, you know what, we have enough of that in our real lives. He was like, I just wanted to imagine a perfect world where it didn't matter. It doesn't, because it doesn't affect anyone else. It doesn't and shouldn't change anyone's perspective on anyone else. And that's why they created this more fanciful wish of what Schitt's Creek was, because they wanted this to be like any town they ever grew up in.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate about representation, we are speaking about this. So this person tries to use social media against me, sometimes to prove their point.
Of course.
And so they literally would sit there and they would reference how that influencer Dylan, they're a trans.
Oh, I really like her. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, so Dylan, I don't know if they've changed their name yet or decided on anything.
She's still Dylan Mulvaney. That's her full name, yes.
Yeah, so they would use Dylan as an example of how the trans community is trying to brainwash young children into thinking that they are trans, and how allowing a teenager, 12, 13, 14-year-old child to go on blockers and or, get on T or go on estrogen or anything like that is wrong, because their brains are not fully developed until they're like 18 to 21. And most of these kids that do this regret it later, especially, and some of them even after they've had the major surgeries, and it causes them major damage. That was the point that they were trying to make to me using Dylan as an example. I'm like, why is that an example? They are very happy with their transition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say is people, it's a very small percentage where that happens, one. Mm-hmm. And two, the reality is these things are very closely monitored by doctors. If it's
done legally.
If it's done legally and correctly, there are doctors involved, psychiatrists involved, therapists.
Yeah.
They make sure, because they know that this is a real thing. Being trans is a real thing. It's medically something that can be that you are.
Yeah.
And they have psychiatrists involved.
Trans people are people.
Trans people are people.
Let me tell
Wild
you something,
concept.
too. Like, I know a person who, years before I had met them, they decided to transition and then decided to detransition. And now, like, again, this was before I had met them. And now, like, in the, 4 years I've known them, they've decided to start transitioning again. And they're like, you know what? They came out on their public social media and said, my reasons for detransitioning are no longer there, but their reasons for detransitioning are no longer there, but the reasons that they had initially wanted to transition still are relevant to them. And they feel better, they feel like they're in a place now that they are ready to go back to transitioning.
That happened to another friend of mine. They were on T for a while. They were thinking about doing, they wanted to see what would happen because they identified a little bit more with, being a boy.
Gotcha.
And they did it for a while. They stopped. They were like, you know what? I'm good with who I am. They're a lot happier being non-binary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's because that's another thing. Gender is a spectrum.
We have spoken about this on the Feinics Gate
I
before.
know we have. And it's something that gender is very much a spectrum. So it's also not as black and white as people try to make it seem. Because you'll also have people who are non-binary who do use T, but aren't fully transitioning.
No.
It's just something that helps bring them to where they're comfortable in their identity.
Yeah.
And honestly, my personal opinion is if it's not harming anyone, you're doing it safely, so you're safe, it's nobody's business.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
so same person tried to get on my ass about some dear friends of mine, saying that because they're being, non-binary and switches and involved in all sorts of other things and like bisexual, not bisexual, gay, not gay, their daughter is going to grow up confused and not knowing who she is. I was like, are you kidding me? That little girl knows who she is more than some fucking adults I know. And she's only 4.
Lamest excuse on the face of the planet. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it.
But
like,
that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like with the whole thing, they're trying to use the fact that gays have more representation in media, and it's brainwashing the children.
I personally
Let me tell you something. If I had like bisexual, like proper bisexual representation in media, I would have been able to figure out I was bisexual much sooner, and I would have become comfortable with it.
I
much
wouldn't have
sooner.
needed a fucking class in high school.
Exactly. It's like by putting these characters and like these concepts in media, like you're not brainwashing kids or like turning kids gay. You're just giving them more room to explore and like
Be themselves.
exactly. And and all you're doing is like you're giving them like the terminology, kind of,
And the safety.
and the safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
access
sorry,
to
we
more
cut you off.
That's okay. Access to more diverse storytelling, really.
And safety.
Because the biggest thing here is the reason why I say this is the lamest excuse is like there are so many cases. Like, yeah, did your straight husband just wake up one day because you guys started watching Modern Family and go, I'm gay now? Like, that's not how it works. Unfortunately, there are cases where people have been forced to be so closeted where that eventually does become the case. But, I have never met a child. Like, look, I used to work in a daycare, and one of the kids that we had 2 moms. And, kids used to ask all the time. And it wasn't because they cared that they had 2 moms. It was because they were wondering, oh, well, I have a dad. I feel bad that A, B, and C person doesn't have a dad. And all I would say to those kids, I go, oh, well, they have 2 mommies, and their 2 mommies are just like your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
Their family is just a little different. And kids just nod, understand, and move on.
Right.
None of these kids went home going, oh, why don't I have 2 mommies? It's just children are a lot smarter than people give them credit for.
And they do, and again, to the point that this person kept trying to make, yes, are they super impressionable? Of course. That's what childhood is because they don't have any preconceived prejudices.
But yeah, that's the
Exactly.
thing. Like, kids are impressionable. Homophobia isn't,
It's a taught behavior.
Exactly. It's taught. It's not, just natural.
Child doesn't wake up and go, I hate gay people. That is not how that works.
No, honestly, it goes back to the whole thing that I've been saying for years. Hatred is a taught it's taught.
Correct.
Like, I myself have spent several years unlearning unconscious biases that I had as a white woman. You know, like, I didn't even realize that I would do certain microaggressions to certain genders, certain minorities, anything like that, until I had some friends of mine that helped me see and gave me perspective.
Right.
And because of that, I learned, I grew, and I stopped doing it.
Wild
Exactly.
concept. You are all capable of learning and growing.
God damn!
How dare you suggest something
I know, so scandalous, so
Right.
inflammatory.
No.
And you know, having this representation on TV, in my personal opinion,
It's not an attack on being straight.
exactly, as somebody who, like, I would love to use a great example, the BBC. The BBC has always been more forward thinking when it comes to showing LGBTQ plus people on TV. And one of my favorite shows, actually, is a zombie show called In the Flesh. And I will always be so upset that they never finish the show. But one of the primary pieces about the show was talking about the main character. And part of the reason he had died within this time frame and then come back was because he had killed himself, because he had believed that and knew that his boyfriend at the time was being beat by his father. And that what was so interesting. And they had such a great scene in this show of the kid's father when he comes back after. There's like a whole subplot where the zombies like are rehumanized, kind of. It's very good. I'll make you guys watch it.
Uh-huh.
But
Add it to my list.
There's literally only 2 seasons, and they're literally only 4 or 5 episodes each.
Oh, fantastic.
But they're very quick. But basically, they have
That's
a
what she
whole.
said.
It's a show
they
I can
have
watch.
one scene where the father talks to him and goes, "If you just told me, it would be okay." And he's like, "Well, I saw nobody else like me. I lived in this small town, and I was constantly bullied, and I was constantly ridiculed. I didn't think I had anything else left to live for." And it's very interesting. And the BBC was doing this back in like the early 20-aughts. So if we're going to sit there and say that it can't be done, we're just wrong. We just want to politicize something that doesn't need to be politicized. I mean, hell, BBC is funded by the government.
Hello.
They fund it and they put it on TV. And obviously, it's very interesting. The Europeans aren't as picky about things like this. But it's true. I just think in the United States, we are behind the curve on that. And we're slowly working to amend it by putting more diverse voices in the room, by putting more diverse storylines out into the ether. Yeah. And, if anything, you should feel, in my opinion, if it is something that taught your child, oh, it's okay for me to be gay, or it's okay for my friends to be gay, that's so much more important than trying to whittle away at a rumor of, oh, this thing can poison them, which doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because the way like how you said that, parents will hear a rumor and oh, this will poison them. It's anytime and I'm not trying to come at you because I know you love Disney, but I feel like Disney would sometimes come out and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a gay character in Beauty and the Beast, and it's literally you blink and miss it, but parents get all up in arms, and it's y'all.
No, it's
chill.
true. I love Disney. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but I am willing to call them out when it's deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked for Disney, and something that really is getting my goat right now, because you brought up Disney, was how people are getting all up in arms, especially with the California parks. So they will say this. I worked at World, and I can tell you that at least about 75% of the cast members are all queer in some way or fashion.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the term queer. I apologize to anyone that's not comfortable with that term, but I do feel comfortable with the reclaimed term. Anyway, moving on. In California, they're a little looser with the rules there in terms of they don't need to be so specific. Like in Florida, that's why we get none of the cool things, because people flip out.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's Florida for you.
It's Florida. I mean,
slowly,
hello. Fuck you, DeSantis.
there was so much stuff going on social
say it.
media right now.
Cam calls it DeSantis
he's
stan.
the worst.
DeSantis
I
stan.
lived in Florida during parts of DeSantis. He literally is the worst. And I will say this, like all of the things that are going on about, oh, why was this cast member allowed to wear a gender affirming costume that has now been made regulation for all Disney cast members? It's like, because even Disney looked and said, hey, what we were doing was kind of fucked up. We shouldn't have been forcing people to wear non-gender affirming clothing that don't affirm with who they are. And if I see any more debate on that from these Disney park blogs, I am literally going to like make my own Disney park blogs calling out all these Disney park blogs.
Honestly, I support it.
I mean, yeah, I do too. And when it comes down to it, honestly, here's my final take on everything. Queer representation has gotten so much better in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, I will say in the past 10 years, it has gone leaps and bounds in the 30 something, I'm not telling you my age, years that I've been on this planet.
Yeah.
I am very happy, and at the same time, I'm also annoyed about it because it feels like every single time we take, it's kind of like Hedwig and the Angry Inch. What is it? It's 6 inches forward and 5 inches back. That's exactly what it feels like representation is, because we'll have those 6 steps ahead and we'll be knocked back 5 because some stupid asshole just takes it upon themselves to go extreme on both sides.
Also agree with that.
Because, trust us, the gays are just as bad.
I have seen, and I think, Lavender, you and me were probably on Tumblr around the same time. Like, we have seen the Tumblr discourse with, like, the Tumblr gays. How, like, if something isn't exactly the way that, you know, the Tumblr gays want it, it's all of a sudden bad and problematic. And it's like, no, there's nuance and differences can exist.
A spectrum?
It's just wild, right?
Wild concept.
Yeah, queerness, again, sorry for those who don't like the term, is a spectrum.
But
Yeah,
so,
I fully agree.
Yeah. Honestly, the color wheel, all of us are gay. All of us are on the rainbow. Every single one of us has rainbow friends. We also have extremely straight friends. Yeah. We have non-binary friends. We have trans friends. We have drag queen friends. We have drag king friends. Like, seriously, like, spectrum. We are on it. We are rocking it. And we're loving it. And we're happy. I can speak for all of us, I assume. We're happy with the way that the forward momentum is going.
Yeah.
It just, you know, maybe people would take the giant stick out of their butt.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Best way to describe it.
Take a stick out of your butt. Instead of being mad that, you know, like, there's gays in comic books now.
Oh, no.
Maybe, well, first of all, there's always been gays in comic books, so to jot that down. But secondly, like, you know, instead of being mad about it, how about, you know, you realize that you have decades worth of content that caters specifically to you.
Exactly.
Or you could choose any of the other content, comic book content out there that, you know, doesn't, you know,
Piss you off?
That doesn't piss you off. Because, like, listen, it's 2024. There's options.
Yeah. Hello, Lavender.
Yeah, I have to, like, I'll say I have to agree with all of these points. And I'll also say this. I think we, in that same, like, Hedwig and the Angry Inch idea, because I love Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
I know.
I have to say that we also need to almost stop taking things too harshly. And when I say that, I mean, like, if we look at some of the discourse now, Modern Family would be considered not accurate enough.
No.
Because Eric Stonestreet, for example, who plays, oh goodness, he's Cam, isn't gay. And I know that this is a big debate, and this could be a whole other podcast episode.
We can totally talk about that another time.
Yeah. I do think that we also need to accept that representation is important, even if it doesn't meet every single little piece of criteria.
Nothing is going to check every single box.
Exactly.
Correct.
And I think it's been great now that we're seeing this forward momentum, and we're seeing people just being respected for being artists. Fallout is a great example. We have a great artist there who you're not told what their gender is. It doesn't matter. They're able to perform their character, perform it well, And that's it. And I think that's what we need to focus on is
Agreed.
people, not only do we need this queer representation in media, but we also need queer representation for actual queer performers.
Yeah.
The skins they feel most comfortable in.
Queer
And
performers, queer writers, queer, filmmakers.
And at the same time, it's not like we're trying to take jobs or positions or anything away from straights. Just saying it's time to share.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's time to share the spotlight and or maybe hand it over to the people that should be doing it in the first place.
Exactly.
It's like we just want a seat at the table. We're not trying to hog all the dessert.
Yeah, it perfectly said.
Perfect example.
Perfectly said, Scarlett. And on that note, we're going to wrap it. Because we've said
Alrighty.
everything that I think we needed to say.
I think so too.
Because we'll go on for hours about this
will.
topic.
It
and
will. I'll never stop talking.
That's a
We're
good thing.
talkers.
That's a good thing. But again, if anything that we have said tonight has offended you in any way, shape, or form, we apologize. And at the same time, also, grow a pair.
Yes, please. And make sure it's bigger than a Snickers bar. Please and thanks.
Or a thumb.
Or a thumb.
On that note,
Deceased.
guys, seriously, if you follow the social medias, let us know what you felt about this episode. If you have your own experiences, let us know.
Also, tell Seth MacFarlane that I love him.
Multiple times.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Okay, on that note, bye.
Later.
I am the